Committee on Oversight and Government Reform come to order. Without objection, the Chair is authorized to declare a recess at any time. We have the third in a series of hearings that we're doing examining the federal administration of the Safe Drinking Water Act, dealing with the crisis in Flint, Michigan. Appreciate the witnesses here today. I also appreciate the strong public participation and interest in this hearing. I would remind those that are participating that this is a congressional hearing. We would appreciate the proper decorum in this room. There are to be no shows of expression, positive or negative, and we would appreciate your help in that way. Let me make just a few observations, and then we'll turn it over to the ranking member and get right to the questioning here. There are people still today in Flint, Michigan, who are waking up this morning, they can't drink the water, and they can't take a shower. They're using a bottle of water to drink, and they're using a bottle of water to take a shower. And I can't even imagine my family having to go through that here in the United States of America. I was able to visit Flint with a number of members here on this past Saturday, and this is a crisis, and it affects a lot of people. And I think these hearings have been very productive. There are people that have been exposed to drinking lead-laced water for more than a year. And this is, I believe, a failure at every level, and I think most everybody has acknowledged that. Let's remember that Flint City was a city in crisis. Financial situation was dire at best. The people of Michigan made a decision, and emergency managers were put into place, save dollars. And I think the desire to reduce the rate of the cost of water, as well as improve the quality of water, was where this started, but it's not where it ended up. At every level in Michigan, from the city to the Department of Public Works, to the emergency manager, to the Michigan Department of Environmental Quality, there were failures. And there's questions about the accuracy of the data that was provided. Some of those people were responsible and reported to the governor of Michigan. And I appreciate the governor volunteering and suggesting that coming here and testifying before Congress to tell his version of the story was an appropriate thing. And Governor, I appreciate your willingness to come talk to this body, because there are some serious questions, and we do want to get to the bottom of it. The Congress also has responsibility and jurisdiction over the EPA. The funding of the EPA, obviously being a federal organization, we have jurisdiction, and it's proper and important that we look at things from that perspective as well. In February, Leanne Walters, who's here in the audience with us today, finally got fed up with what was going on, where she managed to get a hold of the EPA, and Miguel del Toro from the EPA showed up on the scene and started to test the water. He should be highly commended for his actions and the things that he did. And I appreciate Leanne Walters and her family for stepping forward, and can't even express, I just can't even imagine what her and her family and her son, who I met, got a picture with, what they've been through. By June, the EPA clearly knew that this was a crisis. They absolutely knew that this was a problem. And Susan Hedman, as the administrator for the Region 5, she definitively knew that there was a problem. The mayor at the time in Flint asked what had happened. Is the water safe to drink? He was told, don't pay no attention to the report that was written by the EPA, and actually went on local television and told people it was safe to drink the water. Move forward to September 24th. One of the more troubling things, I want to put up this graphic. This is an internal email within the EPA talking about Susan Hedman. Perhaps Susan Hedman, already knows this, but I'm not so sure Flint is the community we want to go out on a limb for. End quote. You can take that down. It's one of the more offensive, concerning things I've seen. That there were people, more than one, that were making decisions and thinking that, well, maybe Flint isn't who we should go out on a limb for. Are you kidding me? Of all the communities out there, Flint is the #1 place that they should have been going out on a limb for. It's depressed economically. They're going through their own economic crisis, and there's internal discussion at the EPA deciding whether or not we should go out on a limb for. Days later, the EPA administrator said Ms. Hedman's work was, quote, very encouraging, end quote. Gina McCarthy said, quote, they're making great progress. But it wasn't until January of 2016 that the EPA actually took definitive action. The day after that, Susan Hedman, the Region 5 administrator, resigns. Later asked about that action, Gina McCarthy, the EPA administrator, said that that resignation was courageous. Courageous. That's something we're going to talk about here today. I've seen a lot of things before this committee, but I've got to tell you, this, the lack of action here, the lack of letting people know so they can make an informed decision is very concerning. It's very concerning. Let's now recognize the ranking member, Mr. Cummings.